Baltimore and WNST headed out to Minnesota this weekend. I'm headed to Minneapolis. Obviously, I'm wearing my Dundalk High Letterman's jacket, 1985. I'm being inducted into the Dundalk High Hall of Fame. That's going to happen on Friday night. We really hope you come out to Costas, have some beers, some crabs, some crab cakes, celebrate the life of my mom, who can't be with us on Friday night to celebrate with us. My family will be with us, my son as well. So Friday night, Costas, Dundalk. Hope to see you there. Obviously, all the information out on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. Baseball, World Series ahead, hockey, we got basketball, that hideous injury to Hayward the other night. But college basketball right around the corner, and I know that because I saw Gary Williams and both Coach Odoms out at the UMBC event last Friday. Obviously, we're going to be hosting the Juan Dixon Show here. We are proudly the flagship of Coppin State basketball here this year, and no one knows more about local college basketball than this guy. He is also our golf expert around here from Compass Point. He is Buckets and Birds out on Twitter. Always a pleasure to spend a little time looking at his Twitter page and a lovely manicured green down at Compass Point in Pasadena. He is Buckets and Birds. He is Robert Kennedy, and we welcome him back in, not this week as the golf guy, although you are the golf guy. You become the basketball guy this time of year. I saw you out at the Baltimore media event. I'm sorry I didn't get out there on Tuesday, but I saw you hamming it up out there with everybody, Robert.
Oh, absolutely, Nestor. Yeah, with the chill in the air this week brings on basketball season, so perfect timing, to go indoors off the greens onto the hardwoods. So it was a great event out there this week. Most people want to say 7 area college coaches, but let's say it's 14 because the women's teams were there as well.
Sure.
They don't get the women's teams don't get a lot of attention in the media and everything, but they got some good programs as well. But it was great to see all the coaches from the 5 immediate Baltimore schools, plus then Mount St. Mary's and Navy, who were in the area in the fringes. So great chance to talk to all the coaches, spent some time with Juan Dixon, talking to him, which is just, if you don't come away talking to him, energized and ready to run on the floor yourself, then you've got a problem. So he was just a fantastic interview and excited to see what he does there this year.
Any room with Phil Stern's room I want to be in. You tell him that when you see him, all right?
I will do that.
Anybody sees Phil Stern, tell him Nestor's looking for him, all right? So let's make a point of knowing. Now, Phil used to live in my building, so I'd see him all the time. And, and the girls, women's, programs are also, a little overlooked and not appreciated, outside of what Brenda's done, obviously down at College Park. But, there's good local women's college basketball going on here as well, right?
There is, and it's something, honestly, I haven't focused on a lot in the past. There's only so much time in the day. And,
there's no doubt about that. Sometimes
when there's double headers, I'll get there and see the, second half of one and everything, so that works out well. But yeah, definitely some good teams. Towson's got a great new women's coach coming in there, Diane Richardson, who's really excited and brings a great background and enthusiasm to their team and everything. So there'll be something, I'll pay a little bit of attention to this year too, and we'll talk about off and on. But the real interest is in the men's, and there's so many good stories going on there. Like you said already with Coppin, and spent some time talking to Ryan Odom of UMBC with their new arena opening up, and of course Pat Scarry and I sat down and caught up. It's hard to believe he's going into his 7th year there, and what that program was before he arrived, and the job he's done. So a lot of good stories. Mount St. Mary's coming off one of the, a lot of people don't realize, other than Maryland, they were the only other team to make the NCAA tournament last year and won a game in the tournament. So a lot of good stories out there. I'm ready to kick the season off, and looking forward to it.
Robert Kennedy is our college basketball insider, especially locally here. And who's the best team, as you see it at this point? I know they're all trying to improve, and Juan's just getting in there, and Odom barely just getting in there as well. And Pat Scarry is, he's been around a little while now, and certainly turned that program around from a point where they didn't win at all, right?
They can. It's funny. Pat and I talked about that a little bit. They've had great regular season success, after his first year here. I mean, every year they've been right at the top of the CAA and gone in as one of the top seeds. They've never gotten actually past the semifinals even. They've kind of, had that monkey on their back, or it's, tough door to kick down, all the cliches you want, but they're right there challenging every year. The CAA preseason polls will probably be out later this week, and they will imagine to have Towson at the top or number 2. I'm imagining, probably not lower than that, along with College of Charleston, who's probably expected to maybe be the number 1 So I think they're probably the best. I mean, if you go back and look at their record against all the local teams, and that's one thing they've done well there, is Pat will schedule all the local teams every year. Anyone that wants to play them, they pretty much every year has the Coppins, the Morgans, UMBCs, Loyolas every year on the schedule, and
well, it makes for easy travel, and it makes and your fans get to go to the game. I mean, when you play at Elon, no one from Towson or UMBC is going there, right? But when UMBC plays Morgan, or Morgan plays Coppin, or Morgan plays Loyola, whatever it is, you drive across town. It's just I would think it's sensible for all the coaches to do that, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I mean, and actually one of them threw that out there yesterday when they talked about it, and they said the athletic directors love that because it's easy on the budget, and that they never complain about those versus, like you said, having to jump on a plane and go down to Florida and everything. But generally when they're doing that, it's for one of the tournaments or a money game where they're going to get something out of it, that they have to do, and they at this level. All those teams do that every year. UMBC won't play at home until probably mid-December, and same with Coppin is, basically playing pretty much a road non-conference schedule, playing the money games. And they have to do that to generate the revenue. But, yeah, when they come back home, it's easy and great to play the local teams to make it easy on both fans. And one of the things that was talked about at the media day was all the coaches have a strong desire to bring back the Battle of Baltimore, which goes back to, you would know better than I because it predates my time.
Oh, yeah. I went to Battle of Baltimore games at the Towson Center and down at the arena. We were always on TV. It was always on a Friday night. It was always when the weather was changing a little bit, Thanksgiving time, getting first week of December kind of sort of thing. It was great. I mean, and it did generate interest. I think not just from fans of basketball, but the kids who played the games also would, think that they maybe, I want to go play at Towson. I want to play at UMBC. I want to play at Morgan. That was more of a showcase at that time. And look, I'm going back to the time where there was only 30 channels of cable, right? So, on a Friday night when Channel 2 had the game on, people watched it. There was no doubt about that.
Yeah, and there's definitely a strong interest in doing it, and all the coaches have been great about scheduling each other, as we've just touched on. No one avoids anyone like they've had that issue down in D.C. with College Park and the Georgetown. As far
and
as
Navy and Maryland didn't play in football for 40 years because somebody cursed at somebody back in the 60s or something, right? So there, there's all of those hardships that the Georgetown Maryland thing. I mean, it's a 40-year-old battle, right? Like literally.
It was. Both those regimes, for the most part, have changed over. I mean, with Patrick Ewing down there's still a little bit of that original John Thompson, blood.
Dude,
there
Sleepy
and
Floyd was 1979. It was 38 years ago.
you think you let the grudge go by now, right?
Well, it was 38 years ago with Kent Tucolvy and Burt Blyleven. I'm still pissed at them. So there. Willie Stargell's dead, and I'm angry at him. So I can tell there's a lot of things from 1979 that I could still not get over.
Right, and as far as the speaking, Maryland and they're going to be playing UMBC this year, and I think that'll be the first time that Maryland's played UMBC since 2002. They played Towson a couple of years ago, and so Maryland will occasionally schedule the Baltimore area schools as well.
Hey, Maryland just played Towson in football 3 weeks ago. So right, I mean. That's a bit of an anomaly unto itself, right? Like Maryland
Navy game football. Of the year, and it was first time in my memory that they've scheduled them. So it's great for the area. There's no really downside to it until like I said on the Maryland side, unless they lose to one of these teams and everything. So that's why they'll pick and choose when and where they do it. But as far as the other 5 up in the immediate Baltimore area, there's no downside. The coaches were all in favor of it. It's G.G. Smith from Loyola talked about, he thinks it's one, they're all the coaches agree they want to do it. He said they just need to sit down and pick a year, like 2 years down the road, and say, okay, it's going to happen in 2020 maybe, because, they all have contract commitments, home and homes, for the next year or two. So if you get, beyond that, where you just commit and sit down and say, let's make this happen. And the agreement yesterday with having all 7 of them in the room and all 7 of them saying they want to do it, makes it look like it could happen. But it's one of the things you'll wait and see if it actually does.
He is Robert Kennedy. He is Buckets and Birds out on Twitter. He does golf sales for a living down at Compass Point. They are one of our sponsors. We'd love for you to consider them if you're considering around here as the weather changes, the leaves change. Is the course getting pretty like that yet? You get a little gold and reds and a little bit of pinks in the trees right now?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. People might not think of it as being a Pasadena being a scenic area, but a lot of the courses are out here are tree lined. So I was out on one the other day and definitely saw the orange and the yellows and everything coming through. And they're really, other than your ball finding resting underneath one of them, which is the aggravating part of playing. It makes for beautiful scenery and everything. Yeah, we've got, so fall golf is really one of the best times of year to play. The temperatures are nice. You're not sweating to death, just throw on a little sweater or pull over and you're good to go. And we've got our craft beer that we're going to be doing this, coming weekend. And, it's pretty much a sellout. Got a full field for that. We've got night golf coming up on the 28th of October at the end of the month. There's still room to get in for that, which will be fun. So, a lot of things still happening on the course for us here out this time of year.
Always a pleasure to visit with you, my friend. We'll send everybody down to Compass Point in Pasadena. You can find Robert Kennedy at Buckets and Birds, and I promise you, we will be talking a lot about local college basketball issues and obviously our long-standing relationship with our friends over at UMBC. And Robert, by the way, I was at the UMBC event last Friday night down in Fells Point. I saw Gary Williams and John Feinstein was down there. We had John on the show this week talking about his new book on quarterbacks. And he's got a new book on golf and Ryder Cup coming out this week as well. He's out in Minnesota promoting that this weekend. The UMBC thing, they're moving into the new arena. It's not really ready yet. It's I told him it's like birthing an elephant, right? I mean, like once it's open, it'll be open, but they thought it would be open, and it's construction, man. I mean, so they'll still be playing at the Rack for a little while here, right?
I believe so. They're scheduled to not play, I think, a home game until early to mid December, so they still have a little bit of time to get that underway, and it's, having been through in a previous life construction issues and everything with some properties, I completely understand that happens and everything. But the excitement's there, and they'll be playing definitely by the time the conference season comes. It's going to be a great environment. Ryan talked about the bringing recruits in and just seeing showing them where they're going to be able to play and the type of environment they're going to get there. They've always had, pretty good support for being a commuter type campus. They've always done pretty well there with the crowds and the students, and this will only enhance it. So, it's really something to look forward to this year for everyone to get out there and see a good team. I mean, they're coming off a 20-win season, and they bring back their leading scorer in Lyles, and so they're definitely going to be a force to reckon with in the conference, and so a lot of good stuff going on out there.
Robert Kennedy's Buckets and Birds, and of course around here we will be hosting the Juan Dixon Show from Coppin State. We are partnering with Coppin State to broadcast their games this year at WNST.net and AM 1570, so we'll be telling you more about that, and we'll be talking more local college basketball with Robert. Take care this week. Hit him straight this week. Drink some craft brews, and hopefully I'll come back from Minnesota with an upset win, all right?
Sounds good. We'll look forward to it.
You got it, Robert Kennedy, Buckets and Birds, out on Twitter. You can find me in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you happen to be. If you happen to be in Dundalk on Friday, we'd love to see you at Costas. We're going to be drinking some beer, eating some crabs, eating some crab cakes in honor of my mom, who can't be with us. I'm going into the Dundalk High Hall of Fame on Friday afternoon at 4:30. You can certainly stop by the auditorium there. Game time is 6 o'clock, homecoming for the Mighty Owls on Friday, and then we're going to drink and eat and be celebratory because this is the only Hall of Fame they're ever going to let me in. So Friday night we'll be doing that down in Dundalk. Old friends, new friends, listeners, fans, friends, celebrities, family, and my son, and everybody else that wants to come by, my wife as well. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. I am a very available individual. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.